Lesson 12, New Features of Adobe Illustrator CS4. In this next exercise, I'd like to show you how you can move document groups, how the new gradient tool works, how to use smart guides, and how to make and print additional artboards within one document. First of all, let's talk about document groups. Inside of Illustrator CS4, you now have a document window. For Mac users, this will be a brand new thing. It's this gray screen that appears behind all the other documents. It makes it easier to not suddenly fall out of Illustrator and be on the Finder on a Mac. Windows users have enjoyed this for years. Let me put these back together. If you notice, the first thing I did was kind of drag all of these documents out, which you can. Now this document is locked to the back. If I want to select these documents, they can easily be dragged around. In fact, they can also be dragged into document groups so that I could have this document group open, I could make another document group here, and I could also drag these back together into one single document group. Having the tabs at the top of the window is also a new feature and makes it very easy to go from one document to the next to the next. Next, I'd like to show you the new gradient tool. I'm going to go ahead and make a circle. I'm going to hold Shift, make a perfect circle. And I'm just going to fill this with a color so we can see this. The problem with earlier versions of Illustrator is you always needed to have two panels out to make a gradient. Which means if I click on the gradient tool and I fill this, well, the icon view really didn't work out too well because now I need to somehow drag a swatch from here into the gradient. Of course, if you expand the panels, it's easy enough to just drag in a color. But now with the new gradient tool, you can still click and drag to define the gradient, but now you can change the colors right on the bar itself, which means I could drag a color out, I could put a new color stop in just by clicking right on the bar, and if I double click that color stop, I could easily change this to CMYK and pick a different color. So that now I can go back to the gradient, I could still use this slider just like I would inside the gradient panel to change how that gradient looks. I can also rotate the gradient from here. I can size the gradient. And that's the new gradient tool. If I hold Shift, let's just make this a little bit smaller. Right now I want to talk about smart guides that are on by default in Illustrator CS4. When I hold down Alt and drag to make a copy of something, and I'm going to throw in the Shift key, you can see right now that smart guides appear. These smart guides are telling me that this second circle is intersecting with the center of the document and also on the same horizontal plane as the first circle. And that's just holding Alt on Windows or Option on a Macintosh as you drag. Now I want two other circles that appear directly below these. So I'm going to go ahead and hold Alt, Option on the Macintosh, and I'm going to drag down and get this second circle here. Because of that smart guide, I know that these centers are aligned. And as I hold Alt, Option on a Mac again, and drag to the left, I can tell exactly when the horizontal and vertical centers are aligned to all of the objects. So smart guides are a great part of Illustrator CS4. Now let's talk about artboards. In Illustrator CS3, there was no Pages panel. There still is no Pages panel here in Illustrator CS4, but now you have the ability to make different artboards within one document. If I click on the Artboard tool, I can make another artboard that exists to the right of this document. So that if I wanted to do a different layout, have another artboard, essentially another page, I could. In fact, I'm going to make another artboard so that I will have three artboards in one document. Let's make this one a little bit bigger. There we go. If I zoom out, you can see I essentially have three different artboards inside of one Illustrator document. Now, the great part about this is printing multiple pages. If I go to the print window, you can see I can pick a page range. So let's say I only want to print page 2 of this document. I could highlight 1 through 3 and click 2 and only print the second artboard. And that's a little whirlwind tour of how to move document groups, how the new gradient tool works, how smart guides can be a great asset to you, and how to make and print additional artboards in Adobe Illustrator CS4.